the judging, measuring, comparing, but the familiarity thing. And here's the thing about familiarity thing. If we don't realize and we don't own how this has impacted us in our relationships, within our families, parents with children, parents can be familiar with their children. And forget, these are the Lord's kids that I have been given the responsibility to raise. They're His before they're mine. In our marriages, it's not just my wife, it's the Lord's daughter whom I married. I can lose track of that and become familiar and be walking in deep familiarity and be poor, wretched, naked, miserable, and blind and not even know it. I have to allow the Holy Spirit to take out His sponge and soften me up. Yep. Here's the deal. Because they were not walking deeply in the fear of the Lord, but rather were walking in familiarity, as evidenced by their dishonor and their offendedness, Jesus could do no mighty miracles among them. And one of the greatest promises to you and me as a congregation is the Lord wants to work great miracles among us, through us, together, and individually. Great miracles. So what must precede the working of great miracles? The fear of the Lord in a deep measure, which means the breaking off and the overcoming of familiarity, dishonor, and offenses. This is pivotal for where we want to move. Why in the world would we want to bring in anointed, miracle working, Reinhard Bonnke, blind eyes open, the dead raised, millions showing up, millions, literal millions of people being drawn by the grace of God to be touched by the Spirit of the Lord. If we're shooting ourselves in the foot because we're walking in familiarity, dishonor, and offense in any place of our lives. I'm not just talking about among us. I'm talking about anywhere. I don't want to walk in familiarity with my boss. I mean, Paul spoke to Timothy, a young apostolic leader, who was leading probably the largest congregation, certainly in the ancient world. Ephesus. There was an amphitheater where the church of Ephesus would meet that holds 40,000 people. It was potentially a church of 40,000 people. So Timothy, he's kind of, seen by his peers as really having accomplished stuff. But Paul addresses him concerning familiarity. He says, when you talk to an older man, you need to approach him as a father with respect and high esteem. Not, I'm your pastor and you're part of the church. No. Don't become familiar with them. They are your seniors in life and in the faith. And you will. Interesting how this church that's mentioned here in the book of Revelation as the church, there's all these mighty deeds. But return to your first love. Don't become familiar with the move of the Spirit. Don't become familiar with the elders among you. Stay humble. And don't be offended by this. Does that make sense? Because God had planned great and mighty things for them.